Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Talbot House. Now, my name is Simon and I'm one of the storytellers here at Talbot House. Today, on the eve of our reopening of the house, I thought I'd take you back 80 years ago and tell you a story of another forced closure at Talbot House, which is narrated in our new exhibition you can see behind me here. In A House of People, the new permanent exhibition of Talbot House, we do not just look at the First World War, but also go and look beyond. Second World War gets a lot of attention in this new exhibition, and most of these artifacts have never ever before been displayed. The story we have for you today happened exactly 80 years ago, on the 18th of May 1940. Now, when war is declared and armies mobilized, Britain also looks at its expats who live nearby. Many of them actually work for the Imperial War Graves Commission. Captain Hayward is put in charge of an evacuation scheme. He has to inform people to make a list of their household goods and inventory, lock up their homes and proceed to evacuation points. They can bring with them some food for 2 days, some hand luggage and also a gas mask. Now, the two evacuation hubs in this area are Eton Memorial School in Ypres and then of course Talbot House. So why was Talbot House one of the designated hubs for British expats to meet in case of emergency? Well, of course, first and foremost, the house is home from home to many Brits living in the area still today. And there was this very strong partnership and link with the Imperial War Graves Commission. They were first and foremost to help with all the paperwork and contacts when the house was first purchased, and even helped out to put in place this beautiful garden you can see behind me. So when the Germans launched an all-out blitzkrieg in the spring of 1940, the Allied armies were quickly pushed back and an evacuation was inevitable. Now, the Imperial War Graves Commission also quickly looked at getting their people back home safely. Hayward sent out two of his men by car to alert all the nearby families in the Ypres vicinity. They had to be ready the following morning at 9 AM at Eton Memorial School with only a few personal belongings, or either at Talbot House that same afternoon, ready to be evacuated home. Now, one of the people who followed the deteriorating situation closely and was determined to resolve it was Lawrence Dawson, one of the commissioned gardeners. He wanted to get himself and his Belgian wife, his invalid mother-in-law, and their 12-year-old daughter Joyce back home safely to the UK. Now, they set off on the 12th of May by train, taxi and even on foot, trying to cross the Belgian-Franco border. The situation, though, was deteriorating rapidly, and that first day they only got as far as Popperinge. Now, despite that the whole town was in absolute mayhem and there was a big risk of air raids going on as well, they found shelter here at Talbot House. Lawrence couldn't resist, and that evening he took a stroll on the grounds and the garden of Talbot House. Looking absolutely magnificent, he said. A real shame to hand them to the Germans. They were an absolute credit to the caretaker, he added. That evening, on the 18th of May 1940, Mr. Rogers, one of the gardeners at the Imperial War Graves Commission, came round to pick up his co-workers and their families. It was about 8 PM that evening when they left, and they were given a very fond farewell by our resident wardens, Alida and René Birat. They waved off the final Brits and soon were going to welcome the first Germans. This room in Talbot House is still named in their memory and their honour. The roads were clogged with troops and refugees and they had problems getting through to the frontier. But finally, the party was billeted for the night at Steenvoorde School, while the vehicles returned to Ypres to pick up some remainers. Now, in the meantime, a group of about 30 people who'd been waiting all day here decided to risk it, and they walked themselves 12 kilometers to Steenvoorde. They were joined by a group of commissioned cyclists, led by a man fluttering a small Union Jack off his steering wheel. Hayward passed them on his way back and commented that they were full of pluck, incredible, joyful, and that their bravery was beyond praise. These people, within a moment's notice, had been told to leave all their savings, their possessions and their loved ones behind and flee back home to Britain. The town of Poppering would pay a high price too. Over 150 local people would die as a result of Stuka bombings in the month of May alone. Soon after, the town itself was occupied by German forces. A faith Talbot House would follow later on as well. And Mr. Hitler passed through the town and the house during his battlefield trip later on that year. Now, eventually many of these British families would be evacuated through Calais, Dunkirk or Boulogne. Families like the Sutherlands, the Wheatons again joined up to do their bit for king and country. It wouldn't take long before Popperinge and even Talbot House itself would be occupied by German forces. But 80 years later, we remember their story, and this Dunkirk room is still named in their honor.